Hey, are you mate? Okay,
All good, mate. All good.
good lad. Listen, what have you been up to? He's back training yet? No.
Oh, back on Tuesday. Can't wait to be honest. It's been a long 16 weeks I think or so. I've lost count.
6 years.
Like just it actually is how long it's been. Like I shaved my hair lockdown the first week, and it's actually grew back. And my hair takes a long time to grow. Like so, it's been it's been long. So
Going back around
no,
the sides there, mate, too.
man, I couldn't believe it. I think
Decent.
I got that patch growth from my grass. I've been doing my grass over lockdown and must have stuck a bit in my head by accident. Nah, but to be fair, it's been tough, like, but to be honest, it's been nice wee break as well. Like we all complain that we don't get enough breaks, so we can't
Yeah.
complain when we go back to run here on Tuesday that we haven't had enough of a break. So yeah, all good.
How's the coaching going, mate? I seen you on TikTok sticking ones in
Oh,
top bins.
it's I've been Mr. Viral, like Roberto Carlos now, my best mate.
I
He's
seen
been messy.
that.
Nah, but me and Josh were, to be fair, we had the coaching business and we were doing it and it was going well, but we were not really doing much on social media and stuff. And then this all came out, this all happened, and we just thought just to get out there on social media a bit more. And then we started doing wee challenges and wee things for the kids. And to be fair, we were up at Hamwood. We were like everywhere was shut, so we're like jumping over like 100, 200 feet fences to get into places, and felt like a 9-year-old again. But no, I think we were up there for about 4 days trying to hit in the top corner. So eventually we done it.
I was going to say, many takes, mate. Flip me. You must have been there all day.
Well, I think we only had about 6 balls, so it was like, mate, we ever do this straight away, like, or else we're going to be just running back and forth, like kicking over the net, like constantly. But to be fair, I think the first day we were doing it, like, we thought, oh, we'll turn up, put the ball in the top bin, and that'll do us. But ended up going on the second day, and then they're like, right, I need to do some other challenges here. This isn't working. And then as soon as we said that, I was like, right, one more attempt, Josh, give me one more attempt. And I flicked it over, and I just hit it, man. I just knew as soon as I read it, like, my God, this is going in, this is going in. And it went in.
Some strike. Some
And
strike.
then we joined, oh no, brilliant. And we joined TikTok because that's all the kids are on that, and we just thought we'll get on TikTok, so we'll get on that. And next thing it went like 1.5 million views.
Yeah, over 1 million views or something like that, wasn't
it was brilliant. And we had some, like, obviously Roberto Carlos commented on it, and it was funny, like, at the time, because we were like thinking, I was like, that must be a fake account, like, has to be. And then it had the tick and all, and then I've been private messaging it like, man, Roberto, can you send me a message translating like, hi Roberto, how are you in Brazilian and all?
Did you ask him for a pair of boots?
No, flip, no way. No, I think we'll send him 3,000 messages and give up.
Here, speaking of Big Josh, mate, some transfer news. He's joined Larne.
Aye.
Good signing for you, isn't it?
I can't get rid of him. Everywhere I go, he follows me.
He's man Martin.
I went to Rangers. Bendy face comes to Rangers. Went to where to go next? To be fair, he didn't follow me at Southport or Annan. He came straight home, signed for the Cruise. To be fair, he got me to move to the Cruise when I first come home. So I think I've got him 3 moves since. So he owes me a couple. Like, can't see him getting me a move, like, but he
get 20%.
He owes me a favour, like.
Agent's fee, mate.
No, but he has a great signing. I think obviously gets a lot of stick. He's my good mate, like, but he does get a lot of stick in the league. But we'll play with him. He's a winner, and he's won titles where he's been. So can't knock a fella. Like, he's going to be great signing for us, in my opinion. Him and Big Albert the back will be a big rock. And not saying we didn't miss that last year, but I think in the big games we probably didn't have the experience to maybe cope with it. So no, I think Josh coming in will be brilliant for us.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think especially last year, maybe even the year before in the Irish Cup against Coleraine as well. I think that sort of centre half that Josh was lacking. It probably stopped you from being successful and winning major trophies. So I think it'd be a great signing for you. You know, if he stays fit. I know he obviously had his injury problems and stuff last year, but he's a great lad, and we'll probably talk a wee bit more about Josh later. In terms of the stories and things, but going on to your career, mate, you started off at Green Island, which is a boys' club. It's obviously very popular in producing players going across the water. How did the move to Man City come about?
Green Island, obviously, brilliant club. I went there and I was about 6 or 7 going there, and just that was a club at the time. Like I remember Corey Evans being there, Johnny Evans, Craig Cathcart. A lot of good players were at that club, and they were producing players, and it was just a really well run club with good football people behind it. Gilsey, Stevie Graham, Bobby Haddon, just real football men, and just they sort of knew how to produce players. And as I was only 6, joined the Munchkins, only starting getting into football, but very quickly put into like the under 10s. I think it was Corey's age group, and I remember, I think I said this in a few other interviews. I remember the game well. My shorts were like down to my shins, and the top was down to my knees, and my socks was pulled right up. But it was brilliant. I remember it well. And when I had about 10, I started to get serious, and I spent about 3 years just playing for Green Island. And I remember Linfield coming in for me. I just wanted to stay at Green Island. I'd built up a wee friendship with the coaches, and my friends were there, and I loved it, and my family loved it. It was just a real nice club, and I think it started getting serious for me when I was about 12, 13. My dad kept it from me pretty well, mum and dad, but I remember it was I just remember there was always scouts coming to watch me. My dad kept it from me, but you sort of knew who they were. Like Billy Barr was the Everton scout at the time, and Willie McCune, who's a Linfield now, he was a Man City scout, and the Coulters, they were United. So you sort of knew they were always there at the sides watching, and you sort of knew they were always there, but you never really knew they were watching you. We were playing against decent sides. Like Banbridge had the twins, Aaron and Andrew Burns, and always good games every week. So I was about 12, started going on trial, went to trial. First trial was at Everton. Before I hated it. Hated every minute. Went over. Don't get me wrong, Everton treated me like a king, and it was like put up in a hotel when I was 12, and I was eating like steak dinners at night and all. I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't getting my ma's mince and spuds anymore. I was like, dinner. And I was sitting down with like high up at Everton's academy, and he was telling me like what to do, and I was loving it. But I remember just going there, and I was young obviously at the time, and I just probably no one really talked to me, and I was like, that's probably why I didn't really enjoy it, but just didn't feel like I was meant to be there. And then went back to Green, but it was like flying over every other week to like different clubs. Like I remember going to West Brom, Arsenal, Chelsea. Like I went to most of the clubs, like most of the main clubs, and then I remember Man City. It was like getting to the stage where Man City came in for me, and they're like, we're going to take you over and just see around the place. And happy days, just felt like another trip for me. And then there was another, I think it was an under 16. It was an under 16 or an under 18 game, and I was only 13. It was under 16s, and they were like, "Do you want to play?" And I remember my dad saying, "No, he couldn't play 3 years above himself. It would be too much." So we're like, "Right, well, that's fine. He can sit on the bench, and sure we can bring him on the last sort of 20, 15 minutes." And I was like, right, I was 13, wanting to play football. I was buzzing. Like I was like, wow, Man City, like stick on the Man City kit, like feel like a Premier League player. And obviously I remember coming on, like he turned around to me, he said, right, you're coming on, but I didn't think I was coming on. So it was like 15 minutes to go. I think it was against Stoke. And I was playing like 3 years above myself. And I remember coming on, like my mum, my dad, Gilsey was over from Green Island, Willie McCune was over. And I was playing for like 5 minutes. I mean, you're younger, you usually like, you look across the line if you do something well, and you see your mum and dad, and they're like, you're waiting on like a thumbs up or something. And I remember looking across, and like before I just had a shot from like 20 yards and like spanked the bar. I was like,
having a
didn't think like where'd that come from? No, like just a wee. I was like, where'd that come from? Never done that. And then I looked across, it like to get the old thumbs up from my mum or dad, and like it was like a train. The line of just like walking away from the pitch.
He's just sacked you off, has he?
I'm like playing, like getting on the ball, like going, like, we're thinking to myself, where have they went? Like, what's happened here?
Yeah.
So, like 15 minutes left in the game. So, game finished off very quickly, and I went in, couldn't get my gear on quick enough to go up and see my dad to see what the hell's going on here. And I went up, and my mum, I could tell my mum was like quite teary. Not like crying in a bad way, but she was like just like quite teary, and my dad was like quite teary, and I was like, what's going on here? And then they sat me down, was like, listen, you're moving to Manchester in 3 weeks. And I was like, what? I was like, what? So I was offered like a 5-year deal at City, and something my dad couldn't turn down. Like all the other clubs were offering me, but I wasn't allowed to go till I was 16. They moved the whole family over and put me into school, and I think I trained like 4 days a week and went to school the other day, and
That's
just living like
brilliant,
13. Like, and I look back at it now, people, there's all arguments about like, do you stay and play as many games and build it up? There's probably no wrong way of doing it. But at that time, feels about 20 years ago. But at that
you
time,
can't turn that opportunity down, mate. That's too good. Like,
when
that's
people,
unbelievable.
Graham McGivern done it 2 years before me, and when I went over, he was like someone I looked up to in terms of. I think he was captain of like the 16s, and like they had him in high stand, and he ended up going to make his City debut and first team and stuff. So he was the only one to do it with him and Stephen Ireland. So, and they told me this, and I was like, listen, I can't. My dad was like, you can't turn this down. Like, it's too good of a chance for you to go out and play full-time football at your age. So it all happened very quickly, and I ended up moving to Manchester at 13, and it was a whole new life for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I left a lot of sacrifice to go and do it, but I would never ever regret doing it. Like, it was phenomenal.
Yeah. Was there any other Northern Irish or Irish boys that were over there with you?
We had a few. Well, Chris Ramsey, when I first signed, I think Chris Ramsey signed, but he was like 16 at the time, so he was coming over as a scholar. Ryan McGivern was already there, and then there was people like Carl Moore, Michael Daly. These were down south boys, but yeah, we had like a wee clique where you could go to them boys, and like I was still 13 training with these lads. I was like training with under 16s, 17s every day, so it was like they were miles ahead of me. Like, but I could stand my own, and it was okay, and I was enjoying it. But you had that.
Yeah, they had that. There's wingmate, or was he big time?
No, he's brilliant. He was brilliant. He used to wear the G-Star jeans now. I used to be like, oh, I want a pair of them. Like,
G-Star jeans, the spiky blonde dyed hair, mate.
I think it was more of just an absolute avalanche then, just into his head.
The mullet down the back.
No, he did, to be fair. I remember as I got a bit older, I started going around to his digs. Like, I think he stayed with Deirdre, and they lived like a few wee like parts. They walk upstairs, and I remember like he had all the gear, like Gucci watches and Dolce. He just knew then he was like the main man. Like, so no, McGill's great lad. Like, even when he signed for Linfield and all, like, just real down to earth, modest lad. That's the way it was when he was back in, and a lot of time for him. Like, he's someone still keeping contact with a lot.
Yeah, brilliant guy. So sort of over the next maybe 2-3 years, in terms of going through the youth team and into the reserves and stuff like that, did you come into any contact with any first team players? How were they sort of around the young boys, and did you ever train up there and things like that?
When I look back, what I would love. I'd love to sign for a team back then that was close to the first team. At City, we trained at Platt Lane, which was Platt Lane, and the first team reserve trained at Carrington. So probably a bit of a double catch where it was something to strive to get to. Like, if you got to Carrington, you knew you were sort of right. You've not done it, but like you were part of the first team reserve team squad, which was massive. Like, you were going and seeing the first every day.
Yeah.
At the Platt Lane, it was just academy, so it was like under 18s to stop that. Don't get me wrong, we're still incredible players under 18s. When I signed it, I had to re-sign my scholarship at 16, and that was when all the money came in. So we were like signing boys like from like Barcelona, and like John Guidetti, Omar Abdeloui, Jeremy Alan, like all these boys were getting chased. Like, these were getting chased by like big teams like Real Madrid and all, like, and we were signing them. So I was like, they were top class players, like. So, and then the closest I sort of really got was when I got till about 17, 18. Every now and then the first team or the reserve team would want players, and they would ask the academy to send a few up. So there's no better feeling. I remember like when Pete Lowe used to come down to us, and he used to say, right lads, there's 4 players going up, and then if you got called one of them 4 players, like, you used to jump in Pete Lowe's car, and he used to drive you up to Carrington, and like, you used to drive in. Obviously, all the first team cars were there, and like the private gates would open. They had their facility, and the pitches were like bowling greens, and then you really went into your shelling, because like you're around the first team. It was like, oh dear, just keep your head down and just walk straight and keep the head down. So I remember training with like the reserve team then, and to be fair, it was like, we played like a bounce game with like reserves. I think Robinho was coming back from injury, and he joined in. It was like him, Petrov, Didi Haman joined in. Valerie Bozjanov, Benjani. That was really it. Mika Richards.
Yeah, I was looking earlier, mate. I was looking early, like as you said, Robinho, Stephen Ireland, Colo Toure, Richard Dunn, Shay Given, Mika Richards.
So that was like all the first team. I only trained with like the reserves, where like some of them would maybe come back from injury and just like join in and shooting, or so even still to be with them boys. But the reserve team at the time was like Kieran Trippier, Andrew Tutt, Dedrick Boyata. Like these are like players that are still like
players.
They were proper, like even then they were like first team players. Like,
did McGibbs ever tell you the story about Robinho?
Yes. Do you want to tell her, or do you want me to tell it?
Oh, you tell it, mate. You can tell it better.
Oh, brilliant! World class. Like I still used to torture McGibbs. I used to tell me all the stories. I buzz off out like when you hear.
Yeah, I mean, I used to kill him for stories all the time. Like,
yeah,
see a big Royal at United.
He told me the Robinho story. I was like, go on, tell me some stories about the boys at Man City. And he was like, remember he was like breaking into the first team, and they obviously done all the video analysis on a Friday or the day before a game. And he was saying that obviously, so all the boys were up, like Shay Given, Richard Dunn, they were all up waiting on obviously Robinho, Alano, Joe. They were like the Brazilians at the time, but they were like probably so laid back, probably on about $100,000 a week. Didn't really care, like, but just top class players. And they were all waiting up in the video analysis room, and I think it was
Mark Bowen or something, wasn't it? Mark Hughes' assistant.
It was Mark Hughes' assistant. Now Mark Bowen, he said, and he says, "Where's Robbie?" And this is McGibbs telling us, "Where's Robbie?" The like Alano and Joe, and he's like, "Ah, they can't speak English," so they're like, "Oh," and saying things, and then Joe was like, I'll go down and get him." So he's in the shower. Like Joe goes down, he's in the shower. He said, "He's in the shower, boss. He's coming up now." And next thing, like 20 minutes later, all like Shay Gibbons going mad. He has to pick his kids up, and they're all like, Where is this fella? He's taking the piss now out of us and all this." And boys are starting to get a bit agitated and all, like does what he wants, and you could imagine Robinho. And next thing, half an hour later, they're all like, "Where is this guy?" Like, and McGill said he was just sitting there like, "My days, I can't believe this is happening." Next thing, all the hair was like in the car park. Like, so all the boys are like scattered to the window, just for the car, look out the car park. And next thing, Robinho was driving his Lamborghini out of his training ground. Next thing, he just like winds the window down, like pops his head out the window, gives it one end, just drives off. Gives it one end, just drives off. Boys were like Shay Given, all were supposedly going mental, like, but
he told me one as well. Where, like, you know, at a club, normally you would have like a club suit and stuff on match days, and you all had to wear like your club suit and stuff. You know, and the dress code was obviously on match days, especially home games, where you had to be in your suit and your shoes and stuff. And he said that they had this fine bill, so if you missed, like, say if you wore something, or you didn't wear your shirt or your blazer, or wore a different pair of shoes, like the fine was something ridiculous, like $5,000 or something or whatever. And he said Robinho used to rock in, mate, with a pair of high top trainers, pair of like skinny jeans, belt, t-shirt tucked in, and then like a cap that said like R7 on it for Robinho every week, mate. He says the fine bill was like about $25,000 at a time. And he was just like me. He was just like, whatever. Apparently, he just didn't give a fuck.
Vladimir Weiss, he was sort of the main man in the academy at the time, and he was up training the first team all the time anyway. But I remember Robinho and him used to get on really well. Like, we're probably both a similar player, like real lively players. Like Vlad was phenomenal, like just really, really good player. And I think I remember Robinho lent him his Lamborghini for the weekend when he's like 18. And he was driving about in Manchester in Robinho's Lamborghini. Yes. I was still getting lifts off my dad's Ford Escort that time. He's driving about in Lamborghinis, man. Brilliant. But different.
Any other sort of stories in and around there? Like, who was, even in the youth team and stuff, like who was the main characters in the youth team? Was Kieran Trippier and stuff and Stephen Ireland?
They were like, Stephen Ireland was more, he was in the first team at the time, but Kieran Trippier, Kieran Trippier and a wee fella called Jack Redshaw. Like, he played for Salford. I think he's at Halifax now, but like out and out goal scorer. Kieran Trippier is obviously Atletico Madrid now in England, so but see them and they were like 17, 18, just the usual stories you hear, just like stories you can't be saying though about boys' gear and all, cutting boys' gear and
Yeah.
water bottles and shoes. Like you can imagine what goes in them, and just like Sharjah, but they were always raking, like always pulling pranks. And I was on the front end of a few. I was just a wee Northern Irish kid and probably vulnerable. They're like, we want to take a piss out of him. And he used to play.
Yeah.
I remember Kieran Chippy used every training session, him and Steve Err, the coach, they used to aim, like before warm up, they used to kick the ball and aim for boys' heads.
Yeah.
But they used to hit boys like full smacks. Like Kieran could hit a 50-yard pass right off the top, like right off your nugget from anywhere. Like
Yeah.
he used to hit you like full slaps in the head, like no freezing weather, and you used to know your ear. You used to
Feeling sorry for yourself.
you used to hear the buzzing noise. You used to turn around, him and Trips were just laughing their heads off, like just shouting, like going mental. I'm like, oh my days, this is nuts. Like, but like me coming from Green Island, being the main man to like being a nobody at Man City, it's like you just walk in that and you're like different word. Like, but no, see to learn off all that, they were top class players. Like, see, train with them every day. Like, it was incredible. Like, just couldn't turn down.
Brilliant. So moving on then to talking about Rockets, there must have been some Rockets in that Rangers team, mate. How do we look at this? How do we look at this squad earlier? Who was there?
Again,
Ian Black, David Healy, Lee Wallace.
Headers. Lee Wallace actually quiet as anything, but on a night out again, another Rocket, like just deadly assassin, like. But when I first joined Rangers, it was like the main squad, like. So I remember first joining Rangers, I went as a sort of youth team player. I thought I was signing. There was still another 18 league down there, so I was signing straight into. Sorry, I was another 20 league, so I went right into another 20. So I wasn't anywhere near the first team. I had boys like they still had the European squad that got to the final, like that type of player. So probably wasn't anywhere near. But again, I remember my story into the first team was like, I remember going in one day, I was struggling in the 20s, couldn't get a game. Reece McCabe and Darren Cole were playing in front of me in centre mid, and I came from Man City and thought it was going to be easy. It was far from it. It was tough, really tough. The first year, found it really tough. And then I went in on one of my days off because I got told about 6 months to go, I was getting released. So I was like, there was a real kick up the hole for me. I was like, I need to do something here, like, or I'm going to be back home very quickly, and that's something I didn't want to do. And so I was like, right, I need to do something. So I started going in like loads on my days off and just trying to get my arse back in gear. And I remember going in, and Tommy Wright, the reserve team manager, he came round and was like, Mitch, the first team are training. They need an extra player. Do you want to train? I was like, inside, I was like going,
no.
My confidence already was at. My confidence was so low because I wasn't even playing for the 20s, and I was struggling. I was like thinking into myself, like, if I go around train these and have an absolute murder, like that's the end of me. Like, there's no coming back.
You'll be back in Belfast.
But I was like, but at the same time, I was like, I remember saying, Tommy, happy days. So I remember getting on my boots and going around training the first team. They'd done 11v11 game, and I'd done really well. I was like, it was just a real boost for me. I'd done really well, and then all of a sudden, I was my sort of way into the first team, and I started training, not regularly with the first team, but I would go around like probably twice a week, maybe once a week, to go around training them, and I had a sort of man there, and it was brilliant, like, and that was sort of my way in. So that squad was like Kyle Lafferty, first of all, absolute rocket. Like, I remember going up, the first team and the youth team used to eat the two separate places, but I remember going around to like the first team to eat one day, and he was like,
that's at Murray Park, they
used to get like, there was like boiled eggs made for us, like this is just sitting in a wee bowl, and he used to like you know, the like flick an oil bean or something, no, off the plate. He used to like lob full like boiled eggs, mate. He used to like have to peel them. He was lobbing full boiled eggs at people across the like canteen, mate. And there's like wee dinner ladies, like you know, the dinner ladies anywhere, any club, they're like your mum. They're just like, they do anything for you, and like just so nice, and they're the heart of the club. Should be skimming the dinner ladies' heads, but I got see if one of them hit the dinner ladies. I was like, oh my days, what is happening here?
That story about him last week, mate, on about him in the Euros with them guns and pointing a gun at Michael O'Neill.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
The
Just
one I remember was the one I remember. I didn't actually know the details of it until he said it, but when he broke his finger, mate, before the Champions
Oh
League game,
yeah.
fighting, like that's typical laugh, like fighting with Wildy, getting off the bus, mate, fell and broke his finger. I'm like, oh my, before you play Man United, like, but like to be fair, you need them guys about the place, and it was only when obviously the trouble started and the club and the administration is when obviously we all got our chance. Me, Higgsy, we all sort of stepped up to the first team then.
Yeah.
And so we were still like wee boys, but we had to grow up very
Were you
quickly.
scared, mate? Were you nervous? Because obviously at a club like Rangers, you hear it all the time, like the standards and stuff, and obviously how big the club is in terms of the fan base and the expectation and things like that. When you were young, whenever you were that young, did that hit you in terms of the expectation that was expected of you? And were you just that young that you didn't really sort of
No, see, to be fair,
of
I
it?
signed for Rangers from City, and I knew it was serious when I remember signing that day, and I literally signed that day. And see, about a half an hour later, we were still at Murray Park, and we were looking up. They had a big TV and Sky Sports was on, and my name come up. That's in the yellow bar, mate. Like it was on the yellow bar. I think I still got a picture of it somewhere on my phone.
That's when
Mate,
you knew that.
it come up on the yellow bar, like breaking news, like Andrew Mitchell has joined Rangers from Manchester City. And I was like, Dad, I'm on the yellow bar. And he's like, you're looking up, like, so. And then I remember going out. I remember Murray Park. We trained at Linfield. We went in the back way, but see the front way, there's like big Rangers gates, mate. That's like iconic, where you drive up and like they have the Rangers badge and the gates, and just going in that every day was class as it is. But I remember going out there like the day I signed, and there was like 20, 30 fans looking my autograph and all. So that's when I knew straight away. I was like, wow. I went from a youth team player to that. I was like, wow, this is a massive club. And to be fair, the standards, like you hear people talking about Rangers and Celtic, like you're in a pure bubble in Glasgow. Like everybody knows you, and no matter where you go, there's always one half of city's trying to hammer you, and one half of city loves you. And you're in it's an absolute bubble, and everything you're lifted and led. Like I used to go into training, and like I remember when I was in the first team, you had your own locker. You're a bit like Linfield now, but you had your own like locker, your key to your locker, the badge, the Rangers badge, your name, your squad number. Every day you went in, you had like 2 sets of kit, your boots, everything clean for you, and just like that was every day for 4 years.
And who was the main players there? I mean, in times of whenever you did sort of hovering in around the first team, who was the main players, and was there any players harsh on the younger players in terms of maybe a sloppy training session would have been on about standards and stuff, or any
you sort of I was on a few, like I remember Kenny Miller would be like, you didn't know what you would get from him. Like one day he would be like, he'd put the arm around you, and next day he would absolutely hammer you in training, like get me in the feet, like, or like if he spins off, you don't pass it to him, you're like stumbling on the ball, like trying to pass it to him quickly. But see, to be fair, I actually, there's a lot of guys helped me, like remember Marcelo helped me a lot, talking to me. Carlos Bacanera was an absolute legend. He used to take you take you to side and take you for like wee sessions, like 1-to-1, trying to improve your game. But when all them players sort of left, Lee McCulloch, he stepped up big time. Lee McCulloch, Lee Wallace, and then boys like Kyle Hutton, they sort of gone to the radar. Like boys like that who were like fringe players, like played big games, Champions League games. And when the club went into administration, they all stayed, and they were like renowned first team players then. And see, to be fair, like it was like more of a togetherness and getting through all this together, because at the time the club was a mess. Like,
what was that like, man? What in terms of you're probably thinking
in terms of like
you're probably
young, being young, man. I was going in every day, and I was like, this is unbelievable. Like this is like see to get from the youth team side to the first team dressing room, that's a massive thing. So like that happened to me very quickly when the administration hit. I think I was like one of the 13 players to go back. I mean, obviously I made my debut before all that, but So I was like sort of training the first team regularly, and I was on the bench like loads, and I was like getting minutes here and there. So I was sort of like establishing myself a bit more. But I remember that transition from going to the youth team to the first team because administration was like, this was incredible for me, because I was like, you ring all your mates and you're telling people like we were still like staying in big hotels before games, like you were still getting treated like a Rangers player. Nothing changed that way, but everybody, your spotlight was just on the club. And McCoist, he was there every session, but if you're looking back at it now, like he was going for meetings after meetings, and his head must have been fried like throughout it. Also, Kenny McDowell and Ian Durant were absolutely phenomenal. They kept the place alive, and McCoist as well. You can imagine them three. They were just three characters, just three guys, but they knew what it took to be a Rangers player, and they drilled it into you. Like, yes, you may be up because of the circumstances, but it'll get very quickly taken away from you if you don't prepare yourself right for games, and the fans will get on you. And so you still had to compete, and we were playing against men, and I was still only 18, so it was still tough, but it was brilliant.
Yeah, good upbringing. Definitely good upbringing for you. What was McCoist like in terms? Was he the only manager you had there, and what was he like in terms with the young players? Was he quite hard on them, or was he encouraging of them?
He was more jokey. I've heard stories about it before, but like you would see when my first moved over, my mum came over with me, my mum and dad, and my mum worked in a bakery, and McCoist used to go like every Friday into the bakery, so you would always see him like out and about, and he was never really like a manager. He was the manager, but it was just like more fun and very approachable, but he had that aura. It's like Ali McCoist. Like I knew Ali McCoist watching Question Sport, so I like seen him as that Ali McCoist. Obviously he's my manager, and he gave me my debut, and he done a lot for me. Like he put me in the first team very quickly, but in terms of like going to talk to him and all, I think every manager's the same.
Yeah, shake yourself.
I remember like you used to have a staircase going up, and I remember. So I got told this all happened within 6 months. I got told I was getting released 6 months. I was in the youth team. 4 weeks later, I made my debut. So, but McCoist didn't really know. I got told by youth team boys I was getting released.
Is that against Dundee United? Dundee United.
So I got told I was getting released, and then 4 weeks after that, I made my first team debut, because I was round training with the first team doing well, and the reserve team captain doing well. And my confidence was high, and then I could pull in. I was like, listen, your contract's up in 6 months. You can go and start speaking to other teams. We're not renewing it. I've spoke to McCoist and stuff, and I was like thinking to myself, I find it hard to believe I've been training every day and flying. Like still training with the Rangers that before administration. I was like, I'm flying here. Like I don't know where this all came about. So I just sort of thought, Joe, I'll keep my head down. I'll keep working hard. But the club went into administration. I remember trying to have that conversation with McCoist. I had to go up the sterile staircase, and I was like, it's like you talk yourself in. You say to yourself, right, I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to try and ask him. I remember got that staircase, repeating the questions in my head. Like, knock the door, come in, just to walk in. Next thing, like everything blanks out of your head. He tells you like you're the worst player in the squad. You're just like, yeah, I know. You're just a great. But to be fair, like I remember when my contract was run out, I went and spoke to him, and I was like, McCoist, I got told like 2 months ago that I was getting released. I've made my debut and all since. And he's like, what do you mean? He didn't actually know I was getting released. And he was like, no, you won't be getting released. You'll be staying next year, and don't worry, just keep your head down, work hard. You're doing really well. And to be fair, it was sort of from that, but nothing was ever sorted. So you just think everything's going to be okay, and it gets sorted. My contract didn't get sorted until a week before the following season. So I had to come in the pre-season, and there was like no contract still there. It was like one of the 13 players to come back. So he was brilliant, to be fair. Like he was more jokey, but I think that's what we needed at that time, because the place was a bit down the dumps. People like were losing their jobs, and it wasn't nice to see, but we still had to do a job and beat teams that were giving 200% against us.
Yeah. Was it your first Old Firm match? 3-2 win at Ibrox, and you were unused substitute in that?
Yeah.
What was that like, mate? What was that experience like?
Oh, man.
Probably the
Scary, really,
best
really
experience
scary.
you ever had.
I don't know. I don't know if you know the rule, but they had a rule where you had to name 5 or 4 under 21 players in your squad every week. So I knew it was like training, and I was looking around going, "There's not many under 21 players." So I knew I had a chance to make the squads every week. And I remember,
Yeah.
like, used to run in after training, and Kenny McDowell would leave training 10 minutes early to put the squad up in the change room. So your name would used to be highlighted.
Yeah.
A bit like the gaffer used to put your names up in the door.
Brilliant.
But you used to go in, you used to just look. You knew your name was. You used to just look down straight away, see if it was highlighted, and you were like, happy days. Like, and I remember coming in, and I never really made the first team. I was training with them, but never used to make the squads. And I remember I think it was the third game we played the Old Firm, and it got to the stage where I was just counting. I was counting the squad to see if it would make the bench rather than the actual 23-man squad. And I remember he only named like 19 players that time for the Old Firm day, and it was like there was only 3 under 21 players. And I was thinking, oh my days, like I'm making the bench tomorrow here for the Old Firm. And I was like, oh my. But I remember sitting there, and we went 1-0 up, and even like walking out, like I played like we were walking out in the tunnel before the game, and all the players were like lined up beside each other. And I remember we played Celtic Park, and it's very similar to that, only at Ibrox, where the place was like pumping. Penny Arcade was pumping, and I was like, just went down quickly, got the seat, just sat there the whole game, sitting out there shaking, like, oh my days, this is unbelievable. Like,
praying somebody doesn't go down.
And I remember, I promise you now, I remember about 5 minutes to go, it was 3-1. McCoist turned around and goes, let's get warmed up. And I'm not joking. My bum cheeks, I was like, and Healy was sitting, I remember Healy, I think Healy was sitting beside me. And he gave me like a nudge, and I was like, no, like, right. But I jumped up, mate, and I remember I was warmed up before, but I actually, every chance I had to warm up, I was like warming up, stretching and all. Must have done about 20k up a lane that day.
Yeah, busiest man.
I remember when he told me though to go and get warmed, I was like, oh my days, like, is this happening? But to be fair, it didn't happen. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it or not, but what a buzz! Like, just you couldn't hear nothing in the stadium, and it was just like pure noise. And
what was it like in the dressing room after with the win?
Again, I was still young, so I was like very quiet, but boys were like just what you would think, just going mental, and like just crazy, banging on doors and just the usual, like. But mate, it was just different. When you look back on it now, you were like, oh my, I was involved in them games, like it was incredible, like. But I had a taste for it before that. In fact, I had a taste for it 3 weeks before when I made my debut at Dundee, and didn't ever think it was ever. My whole thing at Dundee was like, just do well here, just have a half decent game to make the next squad or to make the bench or to play again. I probably had the wrong attitude in terms of should have went in and tried to stamp my authority, but I played right wing that game, mate, and I'm not a right winger.
I know, mate. I remember Celtic Park.
Mate, to be fair, like I played against, no disrespect, we played against Mitcham and Kieran Tierney that time, and Scott Sinclair. The 3 of them were on the wing. I don't know how they ended up the wing beside us, but at Dundee, I was like probably playing against lesser players. But if I couldn't get around the Dundee players, I wasn't getting around Kieran Tierney. But no, what an experience, like. But no, it was epic. Like it was top class. Even making my debut was incredible. Like,
that's what I mean, mate. In terms of like, see, whenever you're in football and you don't really get time to like relax and realize what you've done, and then by the time that you do, by the time you sort of remember that there now, it's probably vague in your mind in terms of, but at the time you probably
remember the debut.
You probably didn't realize what you had done in terms of an achievement because you were just fixated on, the next match or the next training session.
That's it. And you can't, like, it flies back. I know people say it all the time, don't, like, when you're high, don't get too high, and you're low, get too low. And I would always say that now, but that was probably, like, back then, like 18 years old, like starting for Rangers, being told I was getting released like 4 weeks before that. It was incredible. I remember training, and the gaffer never named the team on a Friday, like never named it. And he named the team the Friday, but I was like, just a normal Friday for me. And I was like, and he was like calling the team out. I was like, this was like before administration, so it still had like, I think the team was like Reece McCabe, Bacanera, David Goyen, I think, the big boy Goyen, left back Wallace. Like these were like still, Davis was playing, Edu, Andy Little, Healy. So like, but I remember them coming, and it was like Mitchell, and I was like, I turned around, and I was like, Cal Naismith was like nudging me as if like he just called your name, and I was like, oh my days, he's just called my name. I'm starting tomorrow. And I couldn't get in. See, after the train session, the gaffer pulled me. Was like, don't worry about it. It's just you've been flying and training, and just go out and do what you've been doing. My head was just blank. I was just, he could have been saying anything to me, and I was just like looking at him as if like, I'm starting tomorrow for Rangers. Like I honestly couldn't have ran faster to grab my phone and tell like my mates back home and like, lads, I'm starting tomorrow for Rangers. Like people couldn't believe it. Like,
all buzzing, mate.
And I remember telling my mum and dad 4 weeks before, like, Dad, like I remember having to ring him, nearly crying, like, Dad, I'm getting released. Like, and he was like, don't worry, son, just keep going. You've another 6 months left. You'll get a club and don't worry. Yeah. I rang him 4 weeks later, like, told him to start the next day. I was like,
mad, man. Football's crazy, isn't it? Football's a mad game.
The whole lead up to that debut was like, I remember Davis and Healy, to be fair, they were brilliant with me. Like, I remember going into the change room at Tannadice. We actually played there in that cup.
Yeah.
And went in the change room, and I seen my strip, and I was right beside Davis's strip with like the armband, the pennant, his boots. And I was like, this is real. Like I just seen Mitchell 40, and I was like, oh wow, this is real now. Like, and I remember sitting beside Davis, and see, to be fair, for like half an hour in the build up when you walk on the pitch and you read the programs, like Davis stood beside me the whole time and was just talking to me, just releasing the nerves. And
that's the worst part, isn't it, mate? Like you'd rather just turn up and go and play. That's whenever you get the most nervous. Like whenever you're sitting, getting changed and stuff in the changing room before reading the program. You know, when you have that sort of. It's
not even that. Seeing the program, like you read the program and like, I wasn't even in the Rangers I wasn't even in the Rangers squad for the program. So like you're thinking that you're going, I'm on this program, I'm in it, and I'm starting here. Like that's how you know it's like unbelievable. Yeah. So like, but to be fair, the 13 lads were brilliant with me, and they couldn't have been any more better. Like, just pity I had an absolute stinker on the day.
Did you?
Nah, to be fair, I started well. Like the first second, the ball came to me. It was a goal kick. And it came to me, and I took it down the chest and played like just an AC pass back, and I was like, it just settled my nerves. I was like, happy days. I guess not as bad as what I thought. And then we went 1-0. We went 1-0 down, and we brought it back to 1 each. And on the right on the right wing, one of them ones were two players closing me down. The left back closed me down, and the boy in front of me. And I tried to Cruyff it and give the ball away in the halfway line. And Johnny Russell went on this absolute mazy run by about 8 of our players, squared it and stuck it in the back of that. And I was like,
there's not a worse feeling, is there?
Next thing I just seen 40, mate. Mitchell 40.
When you're just starting off.
He dropped Sonny Aluko for me, who scored like in the Rangers derby, the Old Firm. He dropped Sonny Aluko for me. I just seen Mitchell 40. I was like, oh no, ran off the pitch. But to be fair, like I didn't do myself any harm in the game. Like I think I got about a 7 out of 10 in the paper, which was solid for me. Like, and I knew like happy days. And then it was only a couple of weeks later I was on the bench for the Old Firm. So no, it stood me in good stead, to be fair. I took a good learning curve off it.
That's it, mate. It's all experiences for you, like, isn't it? At the end of the day. The next one, a brief sort of spell then at Southport before you returned home to Crusaders. What was Southport like?
Awful.
Terrible.
Probably similar story to all the boys when they come, before they come home, they always have sort of a bad, it's always not, some of the stories here, it's just a bad experience before you come home, and it makes your decision easier to come home. That 4 months was a whirlwind for me. I went and loaned to Annan from Rangers because the 2-club rule where you can only play 2 teams one season. I played for Rangers at the start of the season, and I went on an emergency loan to get games in like Scottish League 1. And then I didn't think nothing of it. Then I went back to Rangers, and I couldn't do nothing. So I then went to Falkirk and trained at Falkirk, but I was playing for Annan, and I'd signed like a pre-contract for Falkirk in the championship at the time. anyway, their manager got this. He got a job at Norwich, Gary Holt. I'd already signed a pre-contract. They didn't lodge it. I actually bumped into it up in my room the other day, and I got a call from Peter Houston, who was a new Falkirk manager, just saying like, I knew Gary Holt offered you a contract, but I want to bring my own players in. This was like a week before the season started, and I was like, I was on holiday, and I was like, nightmare, like, what am I going to do? My agent got me a move very last moment down to Southport in the conference in England, which I thought at the time like good stepping stone for me, and go to Southport, and they produce like all the Liverpool Everton players that get released. They go to Southport, and then they usually get moves like up the leagues, and that's how it sort of goes. But I remember going to Southport. My first game was Forest Green Rovers. Mate, they had John Parkin and Lee Hughes up top.
Oh, mate. Murder ball.
I remember right back, and John Parkin's not stupid, played in the leagues. He just started easing over to like right back. I was playing right back, and he sat on me the whole game, mate. Standing on my toes, like firing elbows into my face. Lee Hughes was coming over, like nipping me and all, and I was like,
that John Parkin was an absolute monster, wasn't he?
Mate, you can imagine him against me, mate. He was standing on my shoulders, mate. Just standing on me. And I was like,
he's about 16 stone, mate.
Mate, I hated every minute of that league. Like, just don't get me wrong, my missus living with me, and she had like a nice job in Formby, and Formby was like where all the like Liverpool players and Everton players live. So you would see Stevie J and his wife and his kids sitting like drinking coffee and Costas. It was nothing, and Balotelli was driving by in his cars and big Sacco, and you got
to go and play at Forest Green.
It was a lovely place to live, a lovely place, and my agent at the time was from Southport, and they couldn't have done any more for me, but the league did not suit me at all. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
It's a hard division, boys fighting for their lives, and not all much money, and it just didn't suit me at all. And it made my decision so much easier to come home. And I think it was Christmas time. I had a chat with all the clubs back home to come home, and it made my decision early that I'm coming home. Like, I couldn't get back up to the level where I was at. It was only a year ago I was making my debut, and then to go to Southport and get absolutely trounced on in that league and not play football was just a disgrace for me. So came home very quickly and signed for the Cruise.
Brilliant. And did you speak to any other clubs in the Irish League, or was it just that? And then what did Stephen Baxter say to you that made you turn?
I spoke to Feeney at Linfield. He was actually one of the first ones to ring me, and then I spoke to Eddie Patterson at the Glens, and then Big Josh, who I didn't really get on with. Josh, I forgot to say it, at Rangers. My missus lived with me, but we lived with my missus at Rangers. And I on the tram, like it was like wee tram, just taking the city centre. And Josh was like playing the youth team every week, and I was probably up with the first team. And like I didn't like him at all. Like, he was like, his perception of people think of him now, that's what I thought of him then. So I was like, I'm not talking to him. He's an idiot, like. And I remember him getting on the tram with like, I think it was a wee boy, Alan Smith from down south, and they were both mates. And I remember a missus saying, "Who's that wee boy? He's wearing a Rangers tracksuit." And I was like, don't be talking to him. It was Josh. I was like blanking on it. But then, to be fair, when I came home from a cruise, I started like getting friendly, and then when I came home, like I was talking to him over the summer and all, and got friendly with him, and then he said, like, don't be signing for Linfield, the Glens, come to the Cruise, like, we're on the up, we just won the league, and great club, you'll love it, and you'll settle in well, lads are brilliant. And to be fair, he rang Stevie Baxter, and I was actually on my way to sign for the Glens. And I was actually on my way to go to sign for the Glens, and Stevie Baxter rang me and was like, just meet me at Seaview and we'll have a chat. I met Stevie at Seaview, and I signed within about 2 minutes.
Serious?
Just thank you.
Why? Like, what did he say, mate? What was that? What was that phone call like to Eddie Patterson?
It didn't happen. Like, it didn't happen.
Did you not ring him though?
Oh man, didn't happen. Like,
oh mate.
I actually think he done an article in the paper about me and Michael Carville going. Do you ever remember that article where he said tried to sign 2 lads, Andy Mitchell and Carville? I tried to sign 2 lads, but they went to the Cruise for more money. I didn't go for more money, mate, honestly. It was just the way Stevie spoke to me, and it was just more father figure, and just put his arm around me. It was like, listen, you're not going to pay every week, but you'll love the place. And just the way he spoke to me really made me feel really welcome. The chairman was there, and it was just felt like the right move for me. And to be fair, it turned out it turned out it was the right move for me. It was what a season that was. I had spent 2 seasons there, but what a double season! Like what a club! Like honestly, like I hold that club in high regards and really really grateful of what they done for me. Like back in terms of giving me my chance to come back and play Irish League, because boys struggling to come back and they made it so much easier for me to settle in, and it was brilliant. And the change room was unbelievable. I can imagine that change room with Coachy, Ogres, Cadell, Joy Forsyth joined, Josh, Richard Clark, Craig McLean, Jordan Owens. Like the whole team was just a real good team to be with, and a few pranks as well and all, which was good. Like
brilliant, mate. Happy days. In terms of Baxter, then obviously Healy as well. Is there any major differences between the both of them?
Baxter would probably be more hands-on with players. Baxter would do these mad team talks before games. Like,
go on. Give us an example.
He used to like watch. He'd say one that I remember. Isn't it like first couple of games? Like I was like thinking, what is this guy doing? Like he would come in and like wee tight change room at Seaview, like, and he would come in. There'd be about 25 boys sitting there, no, with their bags on, like just waiting on the team getting it nice. And he used to like. I remember he used to like look at Twitter and refresh Twitter, and the team would come up on like Niffle before he would come with the team. So I used to like turn around the Cardinal and he'd be like, nah, not starting. Like, and it was funny, but he one of the team talks he done was like, he used to funny ones like, but he done this one about. He says he was watching a film last night, Kill Bill, and like
Kill Bill, what a movie!
Mate, he came in like he came in the change room and he's pretending like. He grabs the brush, the change room. He grabs the brush with it and pretends it's a sword. And he's like, we're going to slice him. And he's like fully like swiping this brush. I think this is against like Cliftonville or something. It's true, it's like before like a massive game. He's swiping a flipping yard brush about CV change room. Slice him. And then the 2 games to go, we were playing Cliftonville away to win the league. Like, all the boys nervous. Like my time, first to win a league trophy, like brilliant. No, he comes in. He's like, right lads, we've just done a marathon, and we're seeing the stadium. And he's like saying this. He's like, we're running into the stadium, and he's like doing all the movements. He's like, there's people in the crowd. And he's pretending he's got a trumpet. And he's going, we can see the finish. This is like a Kettlebell's ground, just about to play the biggest game of the season, like, and he's running about the change room. But what a guy!
What's the boys doing though, mate? What's the boys doing, like coaching Sean O'Neill and Declan Cadell? What are they like? What's their faces doing when he's?
I think this is their faces. This is as funny as this is their faces. Because, like I'm told, like everyone just loved playing for him, like, and that's just the way he was, and he's still like that now. Like, see, you see him on the sideline as he drinks that Oasis, and he's like, he grabs the Oasis and he's referee, like flip me. That's where he gets on, but he's to be fair, it's very
more sort of like animated now. He's a bit more sort of tense now, isn't he?
You could see that, like, but no. In terms of comparisons, they're 2 totally different management styles. He's just more sort of players on, getting you up for games. Like it's all about hard work and fight for the club, and just
could he go
because
mad?
The Crews
could he go crazy, Mitch? Could he lose it? Like
yeah, he could light on you, like he could, like he wouldn't like go mad at you, but he would go like, he's playing for Manchester City. That's what he'd be like. And he'd be like, oh dear, and like Michael Carville, Northern Ireland. Like that's what he would say, things like that, and you'd be like, oh dear, he's coming for me big time, like coming for me. But the change room, to be fair, it ran itself. That change room when I joined was like, when I first joined, I knew we were winning the league. It was like these boys are like just so driven and they want to win, and you could just tell. And to be fair, the boys were doing a lot of money, and it was different gravy, like.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. And then obviously you had a great time there in terms of your trophies, winning things. One thing I wanted to ask you about that rivalry with Cliftonville. What was the more intense rivalry, the Cliftonville Crusaders or the Linfield Glentoran? And what was better to play in?
See, to be fair, Cliftonville at the time, we had one up on them all the time. So, and I don't think I I don't think I lost a game against Cliftonville when I was there, so it wasn't really much of a rivalry. I think Joe Gormley, I think had left, and Boise had left, so they were on the building stage again, and it wasn't really our rivalry. Was more against Linfield probably when we were at the Cruise, where there were bigger games. Every time we played Hughes, it was a 6-pointer, like, and that's the way it was. And again, we were lucky that season where the season we won it, where we got the better of us. The season after that, obviously, he's got the better of us, but that was our rivalry. It was between Linfield. It wasn't Cliftonville. Don't get me wrong. The Boxing Day games were always tense, and you had the fans and all, but it was nowhere near like Linfield and Glens, like nowhere near. I remember the Sky Sports game at the Oval. That was different gravy. Like, just like the intensity and going to the Oval as a Linfield fan and as a Linfield player and fan, it was like it was good. Like, it was tough and it was intense. I remember after the game they beat us on Boxing Day, the bus and all was shaking. They were shaking our bus.
I know.
Those boys just Glens people just standing outside the bus giving us absolute pelters, like, but everything's stuck in your head, like, and then I think from that we went on. I don't think they beat us, so no, it was good. But definitely Linfield and Glentoran was the bigger rivalry. Don't get me wrong, Cruise and Cliftonville was good, but Linfield and Glentoran was definitely bigger.
Yeah. So why did you leave Crusaders then, mate? And what did David Healy say then to tempt you towards Linfield?
I played with Healy at Linfield, and to be fair, I liked him a lot at Rangers. When I played him at Rangers, it was like he was more my mate. It was my mate. He helped me a lot, and he was good with me. And just I remember we went golfing all together, and just things like that. And to be fair, I always wanted to play for him. And then, don't get me wrong, it was tough leaving Cruise. It was really tough for me. I remember the letter went in as they do, like the 1st of January, and I remember Baxter pulling me on the Tuesday. We played Ards away. He pulled me on the Tuesday, and he says, "Listen, I want to speak to you on Thursday about a new contract." And probably then I wanted to go to Linfield, and I sat down with Baxter and was like, "Listen, I'm toiling here between going to Linfield and staying." And to be fair, Baxter offered me a deal and said to me, like, you'll be a star here and stay here for as long as you want and all this. But I think when Linfield come calling, you sort of have to. I wanted to go to Linfield when I came home, and I wasn't getting the vibe off Feeney that he wanted me that well. It was just more I was pushing it, and that's why I signed for the Cruise. So when I came back around again, I thought that there was a good chance. Don't get me wrong, it killed me to leave Crusaders, not change room, but at the same time, I just thought it was a good way for me to go and play for Linfield and try and, like, the most professional club over here. They do everything right, and to play at Windsor Park was a big lure, and to play under Healy, I just thought probably couldn't have turned it down. Probably would have had a regret deep down in my career if I never ever tried Linfield out. So when I went there, it didn't let me down. It was, to be fair, it was brilliant. And we had that Champions League experience when we first went in, playing Celtic Park, which was incredible as well.
You mentioned sort of yourself and Healy being pretty close together as mates. What was that like when he became your manager? Was it a different sort of relationship? You know, how hard was it for you to get used to? You know, because you can't really sort of, with the manager.
No, you can't.
You can't go above a certain line. Like, whereas probably when you were at Rangers, you were maybe having a pint and stuff together. And
well, to be fair,
the other manager or whatever.
You always have the respect for your managers, but I think he's like no other manager. Like, you go to talk to him, it's like he doesn't want to talk to you. Or not that he doesn't want to talk to you, but he doesn't want, you don't get the right things back that you want to hear, and you're like, I played with you, like, come on, you can be honest with me. And to be fair, Healy was, to be fair with me, he gave me my chance. He gave me my chance more than enough at Linfield, and he played me in big games. And I think the season where we won it, like, I played majority of the games, and it was a great season. But I think as a manager and as a player, it's always hard when you play with someone. You always think that they're going to be your mate when they can't be your mate.
Not really.
You can't, like, to be fair, but no, to be fair, I can't say nothing bad about him. As a player, he was brilliant with me, and as a manager, probably liked him to talk to me a bit more. But apart from that, he was brilliant. He gave me a chance at Linfield, and he played me a load of games. So not really. I don't think he's ever wanted to put his arm around you anyway. I'm probably looking for an excuse.
He just had different ways, didn't he? And again,
he sort of just, you knew when you done something well. You knew by his look or something, but he wasn't one to ever pull me in training and go, like, you're doing well, like keep going and
Yeah.
next game keep doing. It wasn't really that. It was like sort of look after yourself and keep
Yeah, it's
yourself right,
just
and then you're doing well, you keep yourself in the team. But he never really gave you that arm around his shoulder. What Baxter would do and go. Like Baxter used to have you in headlocks before matches and giving you he's like, come on, you're gonna do it for me a day, son, and all this. And he used to tell you like 2 weeks before a game you were starting, and like just things like that. It was totally different style of management, but don't get me wrong, there's no right for wrong. It obviously won
yeah.
the league, so it worked.
I know that's what I mean. He's been very successful, and as you say, it's
Yeah.
just different managers that have different styles, and
Yeah,
that's
and he's been. I think people are still putting him down, but he's won trophy after trophy at Linfield. I think it's not. Is that his fourth title or third?
third in 4
That's
years.
I
Yeah,
think that's
third
his
in 4
third in
years.
4 years, and Irish Cups and always in and around it. And you
I know.
expect Linfield to be there, but they go and do it. Like before he joined, Linfield weren't doing it, and now he's come in, he's done it. So fair play
Yeah.
to him, like brilliant.
You know what it's like though, mate. The thing, at Linfield, you're like even Davy Jeffrey after what was it, 17, 18 years, was
Yeah, it's
still under
cutthroat.
scrutiny for his performance and
Yeah,
stuff. That's unfortunately big clubs, whether it's here or across the water or anywhere in the world, you're always going to be under that scrutiny.
yeah, 100%. And that's what comes to a big club. Like Linfield are very much like Rangers, where although it's only part time, but like you have a bad game and you don't want to leave your house for 2 weeks, 3 weeks until
Yeah,
the next. Like it's just you're constantly like thinking about the next game, as you said. You don't get time to sit and reflect on it. Like I think I had a really good successful time at Linfield, but looking back at it, I'm like you didn't. It just went in the blink, and it's like
I
just
know.
because you're constantly focusing on the next, not even the next game, the next training session. You have a bad training session, the boys are hammering you,
I
and
know.
that's just the standards. Like, and to be fair, it's good to have. Don't get me wrong. It's what it needs to be to win leagues, but yeah, it's just a whole different ball game. Like,
The standards were high though, mate. When I was going to speak to you about the standards were high. If you dropped your standards,
you
even
can find out.
even in a wee training session by 5-10%, mate, you were found out big time. Like,
I mean, it's like them 5-side games, mate. You knew who was having the stinker, and the person on that team having the stinker usually on the wrong side, so you didn't want to be that person having the stinker, and that's what made you. It
yeah,
just made you want to improve every session and try and do your best every session. You got boys like Kirknall absolute hammering you after the change room. Like you don't, like you
yeah.
go in the change room and like whoever shouts, "What was hazy like?" Or you knew you had a stinger. So like that was just the way it was. And to be
I
fair,
was Josh Robinson shouting at every training session.
that's because it was usually him having the stinker. He had to like palm it off. He was coming in going, "I what was hazy like?" To every single player, but every single player was like, "Made you were having the stinker there." Too less.
Here we'll have to speak a wee bit about Gary Eccles, mate. I had
Oh,
on there a couple of weeks ago. Have you any stories for us?
but to be fair, like I don't know if you know a story, but there's you can write a book on that man. Like that man is.
I've never seen
First of all,
I've never seen anyone get as much stick in football in my
but
life.
first of all, what a like
He takes it.
for all like stick. What a legend! Like he's funny. Like I get on with Gary well. Like really well.
Yeah,
Like what a hero. Like but
has he paid his
like,
£10,000 screw fix bill yet?
this is a story of his. I'll tell you a story outside of football about Screwfix. Like, it's always I worked on Screwfix. I used to run the trade counter, which is like you could be a bit more lenient. You get boys coming in, plumbers and sparks, who enjoy the football banter. And Gary, you know, Gary, he used to walk about the Linfield tracks on everywhere he went. Like, so you'd think he was a manager at Linfield, like, and he used to come in. Like the counter was only had 2 tills, quite a small counter. These boys are doing this for a living, so they have to get in and out the shop, get their materials, and go to the next job as quick as they can.
Yeah.
Gary Eccles used to come in. Used to be like a wee bench and like the 2 tills. Gary Eccles used to come in and like, right, get the tea on. Like he never used to buy anything. He used to go in, right, get the tea on. He used to sit. He used to sit in this bench, mate. And plumbers and sparks would be lined up behind him, mate, and big queues like cracking up at me. Yeah, Andy, what's the chance here? And Gary would like turn around going, who are these? I know who I am. Like, no wind them up. Like, but I was like, Gary, like, these boys, that's, you need, and he's like, no, fill that coffee up. And he used to take his coffee so thick. He used to, like, no joke, he used to be able to stand on his coffee. Like, I used to fill about 3 spoonfuls of coffee in his thing, the water in it. He's like, I'll put more coffee in that. It used to be like pure black with coffee, man. And I'm like, Gary, how are you drinking that?
Coffee and Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max called out his ears. But that day, in football that day, that day Sucker got him in a headlock and threw him to the ground, mate. Oh my days.
Yeah,
Oh my days.
that was before like a really big game as well. That was I was on a Saturday.
Mate, it was before Crusaders at home.
Aye.
I think Josh scored a header and knocked Baxter's tea out of his hand, mate.
That's right, mate.
Yeah.
Started off the two. The other way, obviously, Kirk and Sucka, Jordan Stewart, like just killing any chance to get. Like they just banter him off all the time, and like obviously Gary had a wee bite back or whatever, and then the next thing sort of like they were pushing each other, and I was thinking like he's gonna sit in me Sucka here like and kill him.
Do you know what it was? It was tickets.
Aye,
Sucka was like, give me an extra ticket, and Gary's like sitting there with a book full of tickets, mate, about to throw them in the bin. You get two and that's it. So Sucka's like, give me a ticket. He's trying to get the tickets off him. Gary's like, get away. Next thing, like he just catches Sucka, like a wee, like, not by mistake, like catches Sucka. Sucka's like, what are you doing, hitting me? And then all the boys like dulling it up. Sucka, you gonna take that? He just smacked you or no? This is like 10 minutes for the gaffer names his team. Sucka runs over, grabs big Gary in a headlock. Sucka's like 4 foot. Gary's quite tall, big man. Sucka gets in a headlock, fires him across Windsor change room, and like RDTs him to the ground. All the boys.
I never forget the colour of Gary's head, mate. I looked away one day and I looked back, mate. It was pure purple. I thought he was gonna die. So,
I mean, I heard you talking about JMO Gray about the sheep noises, mate. Oh my days.
Yeah.
After for a weddings trip, and then afterwards he dyed his beard black.
He just had like a black goatee like that. Straight up, mate.
Oh, what a hero! Mate, you know what? Every kit man are the same. They are like every kit man.
I like it. Rangers.
Mate, I think Gary's trying to be like Jimmy Bell. Mate, Gary used to ask me stories on Jimmy Bell. He used to go to Jimmy Bell and be like, used to get boys to get top signed. I used to go, Jimmy, can I have a spare top? Then he had about 4,000 tops, like spare tops.
Yeah.
See to try and get a top off that man. You'd ask him like once, he'd give you a top about 2 months later, and you'd have to take about 20 rib ticklers. But he used to have this sock. With 2 golf balls in it. Jimmy Bell, mate. And he used to go, what is it? What do you want? And he used to like walk over to his drawer, mate. You knew he was getting the sock. And he used to chase you out of his room, mate, with a sock, mate. I swear, see if a sock hit you, mate, you'd have been knocked out for 3 months. He used to chase you with a sock, mate, like swing it, mate, with golf balls.
They're all the same though. Like even whenever you go into Gary's room, you'd think you're asking for £10 million. Like he just gives.
I remember going in. It was a December, mate. I was freezing, absolutely baltic. There's about 30 pairs of gloves sitting on the desk. I says, Gary, do you mind if I take these gloves? It's freezing out there, like. You think you are, no, Billy? I was like, Gary, it's minus 20 degrees. I said, I'm taking the gloves. And Ross obviously said, just take them, Mitch. And then he used to stand up and all. And he used to move stuff on his desk. He used to do OCDs. He used to go in and like move his pen on his desk, and he used to catch on to it. The other guy, like, actually phoned him there last week. No, he phoned me looking discount. Screwfix, I'm not even there.
Shock.
Man, do you still work on Screwfix? I'm like, no, guy, I left there a year ago, man. I don't work on Screwfix anymore.
Did he ever pay that bill?
No, mate. Do you remember the time he went and bought the paint off me? Remember the time he went and bought the paint off me and Matty Clark rang him? He went and bought 2 tubs of paint. He went and bought 2 tubs of paint out of fence life or something. Matty Clark rings him the next day. I told Matty Clark, hey, lads, I was like ruining the chat, lads. Guys is out of the shopper, bought 2 tubs of paint, get on to him. Next thing, Matty Clark rings him. This is Screwfix here. Just letting you know there's been a problem with the paint and you're going to have to bring it back. It's been like something wrong with the paint, mate. Next thing, Gary Danders in the Screwfix. 2 tubs of paint. Yeah, I never laughed so something. He was like, I was like, Gary, what are you doing? I was acting. I was like, Gary, what are you doing? He's like, had a call from Screwfix head office to bring the paint back. And I was taking pictures of him, sending them to the WhatsApp group. It was a gag, like.
Oh, crap. I could just imagine his face, mate. No emotion on it, no nothing, like. Grumpiest man ever.
As if he was giving them 2 bags of 10 grand each, mate. Back to me, like. Funny,
Some
like.
boy, mate.
What a hero. What a boy, like. But they're all the same. You wouldn't get a flipping penny off them, but yeah, ask for something. It's like, get out.
Class. Moving on, mate. Just before we leave sort of the Linfield behind, I have to finish off talking about Linfield about the previous European campaign, mate. How good was that there? What about that experience?
It honestly felt like we got the final of the Europa League, mate. That's what it felt like, didn't it?
Yeah.
No, it was incredible. To be fair, I wasn't the first sort of couple of trips. I was obviously on the bench, but I was traveling. But the experience was unbelievable. Like, just I think we beat the. First of all, went to Champions League, played Rosenborg. We stayed in that hotel looking out on the pitch. So we had to look on the
journeys,
pitch.
Though. The journeys, like the journey to the Faroe Islands, we couldn't land because it was foggy.
Mate, have you ever told the story about the charger myth?
No.
The plane?
No, you tell it, mate.
Mate, how funny was that? With Jimmy Carragher and all, even ourselves, like, getting on.
Yeah, I was for enough. Me and Jimmy were forgetting the train to Sweden, mate. Or me and Jimmy were forgetting the train home.
Mate,
I says to Jimmy, I'm not flying home. There's no way. I'm not getting on that plane.
Mate, it was Jack Lund's face and all, mate. It was fucking epic and all, and sucking Jordan Stewart. We were sitting in an airport, mate, on our own charter flight, and
about 2:00 in the morning, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, it was ages. The pilot came out. It was like having a bit of trouble with the plane. Won't start. They were like, so Jimmy's like nervous as it is, you know. And then we flights, mate. Like, I remember going to Faroe Islands the year before, remember? And the plane was it was like one row on the plane, mate. And the plane was all over the place. It was so scary, mate.
The flight in killed us as well, mate, because there was so much fog. You know,
mate, it was,
you basically
so
came
scary.
in, and it was literally like about 5 seconds past the fog, and then you were landing. It was horrendous, mate.
But the pilot came out and he was like having a bit of a problem with the plane. All the boys were like, ears perked up. What do you mean a bit of a problem with the plane? Like, what's the problem? It won't go on. The plane won't turn on. We were like, oh my days. So the boys were like, some of the boys are shattered because we've just been absolutely hammered off Rosenborg 6-0. Like, some of the boys like, just get me home, and some of the boys like, I'm not getting on that plane. No way. I have like kids and all at home. Like, there's no chance I'm getting on that plane. Like, my missus was pregnant at the time. I was like thinking, maybe Tess is going to have no daddy. And I was like, no, I can't go on this plane. Next thing, half an hour later, the pilot comes in and says to, like, I think he says to Andy Conn, out of all people, has any of the lads got a laptop charger or an iPhone charger, something mad like that? We were like, what's this iPad charger for? And they were like, oh, it's just to charge the battery for the plane. And I was like thinking to myself.
Jack Ronley was like, yeah, I've got one.
And I was like thinking to myself, I was like going, right, it takes me an hour to charge my phone, mate. It takes me an hour to charge my phone. There's no way. We're on this plane for 4 hours. There's no way that's charging for 4 hours to get home. Next thing, half an hour later, hey, that's us good to go. I remember like, what? I remember the gaffer, or Roy McGivern come out and saying, lads, like, honestly, if nobody wants to go on the plane, we'll arrange different ways home, but we've been assured that the plane's okay. Mate, see starting that plane up, mate, it was the scariest time.
Mate, I swear to God, me and Jimmy were on some train website, mate, comparing prices for trains to Sweden. I swear to God, mate, and I was 100% serious. I was like, Jimmy, you know how Jimmy is? Jimmy was like, if it takes me 2 weeks to get home, I don't give a fuck. I'm not getting on that.
Man, I remember Jimmy before the Rosenborg game. I remember all the boys were like carrying their we all thought we were players and we played in Rosenborg. We were all carrying our our wee wash bags. Like, you would get like the old Ted Baker wash bag out of our Christmas set. Jimmy's carrying an Asda bag, mate, with deodorants, his boots and all in it. And he was like, but Jimmy being Jimmy, like, what a guy. Like, who do you think these are now? We're like, not anyone's, but brilliant. What a guy.
Class.
But that European journey was unbelievable. Them car bag games is like, when you think back, mate, we were 1 goal away, probably 15 minutes away from making the group stages of the Europa League. Like, that's incredible. But that was the best I've heard Windsor. That 3-2 game, mate, at Windsor, mate. I remember
that Carabao game at Windsor, mate. That's literally the only game I've ever played in my professional career where I've thought it's like a dream. Like it's not happening. It's not. This isn't real. Like
Mate,
see when Shane
see when
Lambie
Shane
scored
scored that goal.
yeah, it was so weird, mate.
Mate, it was
I
like
remember
I
Shane
remember
running off
being.
celebrating, and I didn't even have like the energy to run off and celebrate. I was just like, what's going on here?
To be fair, the first 15 minutes in that game, they hit the post twice, mate, and they were 100 mile an hour. And I was like, oh my days, we're going to get hammered here, 13-0. They went 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up, and I was like, oh my days, this is scary. This is not even. And you were up against that boy on the wing with a flipping cheese strings in his head, mate. He was unbelievable.
Red Mahrez.
Zubiar.
Yeah, Zubiar, mate.
Flipping bendy legs, mate. He was incredible, but I don't know how we get that result. It was unbelievable, like.
Yeah, frightening.
But
frightening, but
I was epic.
again,
What a
some
trip.
experience, mate. Like even in the away leg there, I know they battered us and they had probably 90% possession and stuff. But see, the longer we kept it at 1-0, and we get
You could
the
tell.
last maybe 20 minutes, they were getting nervous, mate. And you know,
Mate, see after the game,
we were getting more of the ball and stuff. And then
after the game, mate, after the game, I was we were all looking at our tops, obviously, and I was down in their corridor, like waiting on the number 10 to come out to get his top, and I remember the president of their country, mate. Mate, there was like 5 bodyguards walking down with some guy. Obviously, didn't know it was the president at the time. I was standing outside like a wee boy, mate, outside our changing room, waiting on number 10 to come out. Next thing, I just felt this big arm going across my chest, mate. Poof, straight against the wall, mate. I was like pinned against the wall. President walks by me, mate, goes in, has like a 2-second chat, and they're all going bunkers in the changing room. And I was like, "Flip's it, we only beat Linfield, lads, relax."
Yeah, I know.
That's how big it was then. It was absolutely massive then. Like.
Yeah. I never forget getting on there, like our bus mate. It was this absolute scrapper. It was hard.
Stunk as well.
Mate, I looked out the window and their boys were driving off in Lamborghinis and Porsches and all, mate. I was just like,
yeah, it was a joke. It was a joke. Like, what an experience. So what an experience.
Right, let's talk about Larne. Purple Bricks.
Brilliant. You couldn't turn down a 50 grand sign on fee, could you?
I hear that. That's before tax.
That video that came out about me, oh my days. I remember, so I got into the club the first day, went down to sign. Obviously brilliant. Like, I'll go into talk about Kenny and Tiernan and the lads and all, but first day in the new club, I went in, they had my top and all rolled out, Mitchell 17. Walked in and they had like media guys, like the media guys of Larne are top class, like.
Yeah.
You probably get hammered, like, and all, like, what are Larne doing? But see, when you're in it and you get the buzz and all, what they do is like classic. Like, you don't get that. So like they had this whole thing set up for me, like when I walked in, and I was like, they talked me through it, and I was like, oh, see, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this, no. But I was too like nice to go like, no, I can't do that. And then they're like, oh, just do it, it'll be funny and all. Like, Kenny's give it the go ahead, and Tiernan loves this and all. Like, right, fine, no worries. So I had to like pretend that I walked in with this clipboard. They had this clipboard saying 100 grand sign on fee, new car, house bought for me, and 15 grand a week or something. This was like my pretend contract. So I had to go in and say, like, excuse me, do you know where Tiernan's office is? I have to sign this contract, and like show it to the camera. And then I would walk out and they'd be like, is that Andy Mitchell? Like, this video went flipping viral. I come home that day. My next door neighbour says to me, oh my, you moving house? I was like, what? They were like, seen your contract, unbelievable. And I was like, but I was like, I just walked in. I was like, do you think I'm on 15 grand a week and 100 grand sign on fee? Relax yourself. Relax. I've just left Screwfix and a part-time job. Relax yourself.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Larne, honestly, it's the most I've felt. See, since I've moved across England, it's the closest I've been, or probably better than professionalism that I've ever been at.
Yeah.
See, in terms of like going in, the gaffer's structure and way he wants things, and just like meetings, like have a debrief on training and the brief training sessions, and everything's really structured, and the gaffer knows what he wants, and all the players are buying into it, and we're adding again, and Josh and we weren't far away from it. I think if the season went on, we would have done some real damage. Like, I think we were on a real good run of form, and we're really starting to kick in. So, no, everything's everything the club's doing and the vision for it it's unbelievable. So I thought when the move came about, I was like, to turn down full-time football. I actually remember ringing Craig McLean and I said to him, told him everything and said to him about the contract, and probably people think I went there for money. It's nowhere. My 2 jobs in Linfield, I was getting more. Screwfix and Linfield wage. So it wasn't about the money. It was the whole thing of getting up every day and being a footballer again. Like, I get that I turned down a job for life in Screwfix. I'll probably have to go back one day and start from scratch all over again. But to be honest, to turn down waking up every day at 9 o'clock to go and get your breakfast, to go train, to go and do something you love.
Yeah,
it was an absolute no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for me. Like, and it was something. After speaking to Kenny and Tiernan and all his staff, like, it's just the way they're doing it. You need to be there to see how they're doing it. It's just trying to explain to someone. It's just not what it is when you're actually down there sitting in front face to face and seeing these guys work, and the amount of effort they're going into to make our jobs easier. And it's unbelievable. Like, really is.
Yeah. Just on Josh, mate, did he sign for the Cruise and Larne at the same time?
Yeah. I think he signed for the Glens as well at one stage. To be fair, like, that boy, some crack, like, stories. Mate, did he tell you a story about the first time I joined the Cruise, our first European trip away?
He might have. Tell us it.
Obviously, George, my best mate now, like, but first European trip away, we played Estonia, the Estonia champions, Levada Tallinn, out in Estonia. I came from Rangers, where I'd never touched a drink in my life, like, never touched a drink in my life, and I've walked in the change room with, like, ogres, all these boys who are absolute bunkers, just won the league. We've just qualified for the next round of the Champions League, first time like an Irish League club's ever done it. And I said to all the boys, like, "Oh, what are you drinking, all Mitch?" And I was like, "I don't drink, lads. I'm all right." And they're like, "Oh, come on, we're in the flipping second round of the Champions League. Have a drink, and I'll have a drink." So I was going up to the bar, mate, like, getting rounds in, and I was asking the barman for like shots. So I was like asking the barman, I'm like in Estonia trying to, like, doing the foreign English accent you're trying to do, like, can I have 6 shots? Make 1 shot water. One shot. So I'm like pretending I'm getting blocked with the lads, like, and I'm not even drinking it.
Serious?
Like, I'm taking shots of water, mate, like trying to act a big man, pretend to block. But Josh knows I'm drinking water.
Yeah.
And he's like, now he finally tells all the boys Mitch is drinking water, like. I'm running around pretending to be blocked, mate. And our story about the Cruise. But this is the type of gesture we were in. I turned up to training one time. It was my birthday. A week later, Leanne's mum bought me this jacket, and it was like a lumberjack stripy shirt. I thought it was nice. Obviously, the lads saw it different.
Yeah.
I came in after training. Me, Carvel, and BJ were out hitting shots. I came in after training, and all the boys were in change room. This is like 9 o'clock. All the boys usually are away. All the boys were getting changed, showered and all, and I was just out of the shower, about to stick on the jacket, mate. Put my arms in the jacket, mate, and the sleeves fell off the jacket, mate. Then I found out ogres had cut the sleeves off my jacket, mate. Cut the sleeves off my lumberjack shirt. So when I stuck my arms through the jacket, mate, the sleeves fell on the ground. The boys were rolling about on the floor in kinkles, mate, and I was like, I took it really thick. I was like, lads, that's a disgrace and all. This is, you don't mess with clothes and all, like, and I'm going to get you back. And the boys are like hammering me, like,
yeah, that's a weird thing you can probably do as well.
They were calling me Jim Duggan out of that there swing film with this, and I was getting pelters, mate.
Class.
Pelters.
Brilliant, mate. I love all that there. Just to finish off, mate, in terms of, Larne and Tiernan Lynch here for next year, what's as he set out goals and stuff for next season? Surely it must be looking at
to be fair, the way we finished the season, and probably if it would have went on, would have been, in my opinion, would have been right up there. Like, just the way we were going, we were on a good run of form, and we beat all the top teams. We beat the Glens, beat the Blues, beat Glenavon. We're knocking teams away. So we're like, bring it on, bring these last 7 games on. We still had to play Linfield, one still had to play Coleraine. Not saying we would have won the league, no, but we'd definitely give people a run for their money. because people were just still saying Larne first year in the league, how are they going to do? Realistically, we finished 6th, which probably isn't good enough for what the talent we had in that squad and what we showed we could do. So this year, I think, going on the back of last year, it's give the boys a lot of belief going into this season, thinking, I remember playing against Larne, against Linfield, and we beat them 1-0, and I thought they were the better side on the day. We just got that goal in the very last, I think Josh scored a header in the last minute of the game, and there wasn't much in the game. So in terms of, I think it's just a bit more about belief, about believing before games that we can actually go and compete and win games, and there should be no reason. We'll do everything right. We've got a Mick Boyle, the fitness guy, and we've brought in a nutritionist this year, and so we haven't set out our goals yet because we're not back, but I'm pretty sure it would be to win every match we're going to play. It has to be. I can't see no other option. And I honestly think, I'm not putting no pressure, but I don't think it is pressure, but I honestly think we'll be right up there next year if we apply ourselves right and do everything right, and maybe add a few more. There's no reason why we shouldn't be right up there because we've proved we can beat anybody on our day.
I was going to ask you, do you think you need to add a few more, mate, just for that sort of, like, if somebody gets injured, then you've got that squad then to deal with them injuries that will no doubt them going to come along.
100%, and it happens at
Christmas.
All the top sides, you look at, have won the league in the past, Linfield's, the Crews, they've all got 20, 22, 24 man squads and players chomping at the bit, and you need that. You need players fighting for your position, and to be fair, I think it'll be a matter of time before we're bringing a new fresh faces. And I don't think it's that. It's bringing the right people in as well. I think Tiernan's got the right. I think that the dressing room is very good in terms of characters. There's no big-headed lads. They're all very honest lads, and a bit like Irish League. I think everyone's the same, but the lads are all real good lads, and they know what they want, and they'll work as hard as they can. And to be fair, everything's done right. So if we apply ourselves right, then I think the first year, I had a few like some Mark Randall, Lee Lynch, boys didn't know the league, so they all know the league now. So there's no excuses, and we can go out and do the business now, and hopefully we can. And to be fair, the wee town's buzzing. Like, see, no matter where you go, I was down to town today, done a bit of training, and like I'm walking in town. I've only been there for 5 months, and like people are stopping me and saying hi and welcome to Larne, and just real lovely wee club. And we just gotta, as players now, we just gotta show what we're all about and do it for Larne, because everybody else is doing everything for us. So it's just about us doing it for them, and I'm sure the lads are all for it. Like Kenny backs us 1,000,000%, the Gaffer backs us 1,000,000%, Seamus backs us 1,000,000%, and to do everything for us. So we need to back it up as players, like and show a bit of urgency our side to go and do things for them.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Who really impressed you whenever you first went in terms of playing ability?
I spoke to Marty about this last week. You know, when you're playing against players and you don't rate them, you know they're good players, but you don't realise how good they are.
Yeah.
Tomas Cosgrove. To be fair, every time I played against Tomas, knew he was a class player, but I'm training with him day in day out, seeing him play. He's like a mainstay on our team and like big part of what we do and getting up and down the right. But like you've got, like, I'm going to train. Like, I didn't realise how good Jeff Hughes was.
Yeah.
I don't actually think anybody did. Jeff Hughes has played in England all of his career.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like training with this boy day in, day out now. And like I'm 28 now and I'm still learning off Jeff Hughes. That says a lot. Like, and I'm watching Jeff Hughes play on a Saturday and I'm like, that's class. So it's like the midfield is packed. Mark Randall, John Hearn, me, Fudzer, Jeff Hughes. There's 5 centre mids, mate, that all should be playing. So our midfield's sorted. I hope he doesn't bring any more. But no, but that's what it takes. Like there's boys that big Albert Watson again, rock at the back, and maybe we've got the squad. Davy McDade, he caused Linfield absolute turmoil that night. I watched it, and then Johnny McMurray as well. So. If you look around our squad, and it's a top class squad, we just really need to believe in ourselves and go out and do it now and just go for it. And that's what we have to do. I think Adam and Josh will bring a wee bit of winning mentality, and adding a few others, a wee bit more belief to go right. Like let's go for it. Why not?
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, Mitch here, top man, mate, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant.
Been good chatting to you, mate.
Funny stories.
And Yeah, great stories, mate. And I'll give you a shout later on, mate. Okay.
Yes. Good man, Casey. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Top man, mate. See you, mate.
Cheers. Bye.